Hello and welcome. My name is Dehilov, and today I'm with Matador, and he's going to show us his top 3 Osnabruck regional deck profile. This is a Mitsurugi Ogdoadic list, and in about 123 players, he got top 3. So we're going to go over the list and then talk about siding patterns and also cards that are either here and why they're here, or cards that aren't and why they're missing.
Yes, hello everyone. First of all, thank you for having me here and giving me the opportunity to go more in depth with this deck profile tutorial. Basically, I love playing Ogdoadic since like the release. Back then, I was playing it with Chaos cards like Chaos Ruler and also like Light and Dark Dragons. But then, unfortunately, Chaos Ruler got hit and the deck was not playable or worth playing anymore. But then Konami decided to put out this really awesome new support, and I thought should be combinable with Ogdoadic. Then I started like working out the combos, play around a lot of things, and also play through things such as Nibiru, which is always a big threat for combo decks, generally speaking. Then I basically tested around a lot, and I took this deck to a regional and became third place. That's why we're here. So, yes, then let's start with the Mitsurugi Engine. We play 2 Amino, 2 Futsu, 3 Taji, 1 Kusanagi, and 1 Nightsword Serpent, which could be also considered as an Ogdoadic card because it's like used in both combo lines. 3 Ritual, 3 Prayers, and 1 Great Purification. I think the most interesting thing is like the second Futsu, because combos starting with 1 Ritual monster and the Ritual spell Hard Drawn. These are your best combos. So I tried to maximize seeing this combination of cards. At the same time, you could argue why you're not playing 3 Amino and only 1 Futsu, so you're still playing 4 Ritual monsters in total. But I like having this variance also in the grind game and so on. If you go first and your opponent does not scoop in his turn and you have to play turn 3 to finish the game, and then you also need to do something, and then I really like having multiple copies of each ritual.
Yeah. This is also far more durable into things like Crow and more relevantly Bestials, because if you only have the 1 Futsu, like in a lot of lists, then if it gets Bestialed, you no longer have that really strong revive outlet, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly. I have to mention that I side out the second Futsu going second because way less strong than having Amino for going second.
And you wouldn't change this, though. You would keep this in the main and just side it out because that going first potential is just higher having those 4 names, right?
Yes, exactly.
That is our Mitsurugi core, so onto our Ogdoadic stuff.
Yes, so for the Ogdoadics, I play 3 Snake Rain, 3 Nunu. These are the 1-card starters in the deck. As many of you might know, the Mitsurugi cards only work in combination with another card, but with Snake Rain and Nunu, you have the 1-card starters. Then I play 1 Zoha in order to Nunu being a 1-card starter. I play 2 Naoya, 1 Curse, and for the targets that we search off with Naoya, we play 3 Daybreak, 1 Water Lily, and of course our engine requirements / Garnets, Octobus and Nephalibus. I think the most people play 3 Naoya, but I chose to play only 2 because it's not 1-card starter. It's a 1.5 card combo. If you draw any normal summonable bodies, then it's basically like the same combo as having Nunu. So in general, I hate saying this, but the Ogdoadic lines that only start with Snake Rain and Nunu and you have no additional engine card or extender in your hand, they feel like very fragile because you have so many steps that you have to do before getting to your Mitsurugi engine, and this combo line dies basically to any hand trap, unfortunately. So I wanted to lower the deck count because, as a fun fact, I tested many iterations of this deck from 42 cards to 53 cards. 53 card version had the most non-engine in it, but for me that felt like seeing the Mitsurugi stuff not often enough. Then I tried to cut down the deck step by step. At some point I was at 42 cards, but it also did not feel too good. And then I came back to the 45 cards like 2 days before the regional. Overall, from my personal gut feeling, it was best to play with these ratios and so on. And
And it's more of that philosophy like with the Futsu, because when siding, you talked about, and we'll go over a little further, that you would cut 1 or even 2 Nunu and a Daybreak. And so it's better to keep them in the main despite the fact that they get sided, because that going first potential is higher. Because I agree, having just one Ogdo starter, be that Naya, Nunu, or Rain, is super vulnerable just because of the multi-step nature of our combos.
Yes, and unfortunately, the Ogdoadic combos also rely on a lot of spell speed 1 effects that you have to ignite, and this makes it even more vulnerable. For example, Zoha. Zoha is just some stupid body. And this is the downside of this engine, but I still love it.
Onto the spell cards, just a note. You talk about how kind of slow the Ogdoadic stuff is. I really like the 3 Daybreak because this is a quick play spell. This is really good at dodging, targeting like Imperm, like Valor on things like your Curse, or even earlier in your lines if you have to on your Saji if you need those things to resolve. And also by running 3 Daybreak, you leave your Naya open to searching the Lily, and as you have in this list, you have a couple really awesome negate style monsters that you can facilitate using that Nef. So something I really like about your list is if you already open the Daybreak access, you can then search the Lily, and then Lily will be able to use your Nef and your Ogdoadus for that really awesome Varudras to insulate your plays and make it even stronger in endboard on the opponent's turn.
So I play Daybreak at 3. I will add this with Naoya anyway in most of the combos. So it's better having this hard drawn in case you're interrupted. I side out the 3rd Daybreak going 2nd because this is like some kind of personal playstyle. Going 2nd, I really like minimizing the risk of having 2 dead cards in my hand, because sometimes you have to play only with Engine or cards like Droplet or Talents because you've not drawn any of your hand traps. Therefore, it's better to lower the risk of having dead cards. And of course, going 2nd, you can also use Droplet to dodge targeting effects. Alongside with Prayers, you have then 8 dodging abilities.
And that's especially relevant into a card like Detonator that's always going to be targeting things on your field. Onto the non-engine then. We play a pretty small suite. We play a total of 13 if you count the called by.
Yes, exactly. So since the engine is so big, I had to think which is the non-engine, and then I chose these 4 playset because I think they're the most versatile ones going in game 1. So even though, for example, the Fualos is only alive going 2nd, it's too good to not play it. Droplet is a mandatory card, even only for the reason that Dweller exists and is right now in the meta. Before this, I was playing Branded, and from the deck building, you also had a huge engine and only a few spots for non-engine. So I learned the advantages of droplets in such a deck. Same as Talents. The effect to draw cards after you get interrupted by a monster hand trap comes up way too often, especially in this hand trap heavy format that we have right now. The reason for Ash is it's both offensive and defensive. So it's also not bad having this as a top deck against Fiendsmith Ryzel. You can Ash any of the cards that will get the access to the sand effect of Desiree in the grave. You could Ash the Fiendsmiths in Paradise. Against Malice, you can Ash the trap that searches and banishes a non-target. MTP 07. Ash is also very versatile when it comes to stop the Mulchamis such as Fuvalos. If you have to start with the Ogdoadic lines, they really play hard into Meowls. I really like it, and I would not change anything in the main deck, and also not the extra deck.
Yeah, I like this approach because oftentimes you'll hear a board breaker requires you to open at least 2, but I agree that in a deck like this where we need at least 2, preferably even 3 engine cards / extenders like Daybreak, you want your non-engine to be as high impact as possible. Drawing cards, stopping your Fulos or stopping from deck, Stealing, ripping, drawing, these are all amazing. Droplet being able to negate multiple threats, and call by stopping relevant hand traps. I think these are the highest impact cards for the lowest investment for this kind of deck. So I think they're all really excellent picks, and it makes perfect sense why they did so well for you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, on to the extra deck. We'll go from our links first.
I play Link Spider because it enables combos when you have the tokens on board made from the effect of Daybreak. You want to go into a Haggard Lizardos. He requires 2 monsters with different names. Something else that I do with the tokens is IP. So basically then I either use 2 of them for Lizardos or IP, and the other 2 will be used for Beat Cop. Then we link off the Beat Cop and the other link to monster into above, and then the opponent's turn we will revive the IP and activate IP to link off into SP or even Underworld Goddess. And I also play the Underworld Goddess because I don't want to die to a Chaos Angel that is made out of a light and a dark monster. In some game states it's also a better choice for the IP target than doing SP.
I really like having that towers out, like you were saying, with things like Chaos Angel or even maybe a Raid Raptor's boss. You always have a way to non-effect remove things.
Yes, definitely. Yes, and a couple of words to Beat Cop. The Beat Cop is, I think, one of my favorites in this extra deck because it's so easy to make. It basically requires just 2 monsters. But if you make it of 2 different monsters, you can have this attribute effect, which comes up in some combo lines.
Would you ever consider playing something like Nightmare Unicorn for a more aggressive option?
I have to admit I do not like Nightmare Unicorn too much because it's not cheap and it's easy to dodge. So for me personally, I don't think it's worth playing.
Perfect. On to our XCs then.
So we play 2 King of the Feral Imps. We even need the second one in our first turn combo in some of the lines. Then we also play Dweller because it's also rather easy to make in this deck and has a high impact. There are even some lines, especially the one starting with Nunu, where you have at the end just random level 4 bodies, and you also went through every Link monster. Also comes up that I make Abyss Dweller blind without knowing what I'm playing against. In the last round, I played against Mitsurugi Ogdoadic, and I had such a combo line, and it came like super clutch. Because easy win. So then I play 2 rank 8s, play a Photon Lord to make the combos more stable. Because if we start with Mitsurugis, it's possible to build Photon Lord, not really nip safe, but you still have a second ritual monster on your field that has not yet used its attributing effect. So if the opponent will activate Nibiru before we make a Photon Lord, we still get some profit of it due to the fact that our ritual monster has been tributed, but it still makes the combo safer and is also an awesome end board piece. And I don't mind overlaying one of the rituals for it because either I use Ameno, then you would like to reborn Ameno in the opponent's turn anyway. So you simply use the Photon Lord first to negate a monster, then you detach the Ameno and then you can reborn the Ameno. Or you use Butsu. It always depends on what you're hard drawing. So I am always overlaying the first ritual monster that I summoned. I keep the prayers to reborn it back. So I don't see any backdraw by doing this. And then Dingirsu, I have to admit, he does not come up too often. So you could say you have so much removal in this deck. So Amno is a board wipe and also Octobis is a board wipe. But I still like Dingirsu because he could force out any card because it's non-targeting, non-destruction. And it also gives a lot of pressure on some dead cards in the back row. Yes, also the protection effect could be utilized very well against, for example, Ryzeal. It does not come up too often, but I still really like this card. And then we play one rank 10. We play the Varudras, which is made of Octoabyss and Nephalabyss. So basically, we summon first the Nephalabyss, and then we reborn the Octoabyss with Nephalabyss, and then we overlay them. I really like Varudras because he's an additional Omni Negate for the board, which also provides more stability to your end board. And he's also very awesome going second because he puts out a lot of pressure because of the other hidden effects, such as being able to destroy a card non-targeting in the start of the damage step. And if he leaves the field while he still had material, you can pop another card non-targeting, which is really awesome. And I really love this card. When I was tinkering with this deck and creating the combos, I first thought he will come up very rarely, but he comes up way more often. So I really think he's worth playing. It's not possible to make Varudras in every combo, but there are some lines where you can make him without any problem. Or as I also already said, that when you have one of the Ogdoadic spells hard drawn, you can do the plays with the Water Lily basically. You send off one of the targets with Water Lily, and the other ones, by any chance, you will get them into the graveyard anyway with your other cards. So yes, the last two Extreme monsters come up not that often. So Zeus comes up a couple of times. I still think he's worth playing because sometimes you can force things after making King of the Feral Imps. And then Zeus alone is a lot of pressure. And Typhon is like the only flex spot in this extra deck. So if I would choose to play any other card, then I would first cut Typhon because it's a lose-less card. He's good in some simplified game states or hand trap battles, but somehow he does not apply to the playstyle of this deck too well. I still play him because he can come up sometimes. When I played the regional, he came up once. He almost saved my game, but unfortunately he did not. But still, I would play him. That's it for the extra. Any like other questions?
Yeah. So the last one I had, well, the last two. Were you considering playing a burn card like Gagaga Cowboy or Gustav Max thanks to a rank 4 and rank 10 access?
So the issue with Cowboy is that in some combo lines you have to use prayers, which burns you for 800. So he only provides a draw. And actually, I would have more space. I would really love to play the trains, Gustav Max and also Juggernaut Liebe, because they also provide really good opportunities to OTK the opponent. Sometimes this deck is lacking some real finishing card. Most of the times you simply finish by the sheer amount of high ATK monsters, but we're not playing such things like Axis Code Talker or Borosword. But regarding the burn, I would rather like to play like cards that secure a regular game without considering the timeout rulings, because it's a matter of skill to not run into the timeout, and therefore I would rather adjust my plays and the point of time where I decide to scoop than to do some burn for time stuff. But at the same time, I did not have any problems with timeout in the tournament. I only ran into time in one match. So
be better.
Yes, exactly. That's a key message. Thank you.
Perfect. That's awesome. Okay, on to the last part of the deck list. Let's go over your side.
Yeah, I play like Freelancia, obviously, against Malice. I decided in going first and second. And then I play Joel, especially against Mitsurugi Ogdoadic, because playing against this is very hard because they have answers to your board breakers, because they're also playing Great Purification, which is an awesome card. So you have to stop them in advance in their turn. I sometimes even sided in going first, but it's a double-edged sword because you are gaining so much follow-up and advantage by your Futsu in the opponent's turn by reviving Saji or by reborning Futsu or Ameno, and you also definitely want to have those effects alive. But at the same time, if you get interrupted very harshly, then you would still like to have some card like Joel even going first to simplify the game states a little bit more. I play 3 Thrust in the side deck. I even sided in going first and second, but I don't play it in the main deck because I don't have any good target to set with Trust. The only normal trap that we play is Great Purification, and it's only alive when we have a proper requirement for it on the field. So Thrust is not providing any advantage in some cases, but our deck is still vulnerable to Bystials, so people will still play Bystials against us, and then can even add cards like Snake Rain or the Water Lily or Talents to extend after getting Bystialed. And for going second, it provides more access to blowout cards or anything you need in that particular situation. Let's continue with the thrust targets. I play 1 Duster as my back row removal and 1 Dark Ruler because I think it's a neat option to have it against some strong combo decks. And I even sided in against Malice because even though Malice has so much layered interruption due to the Reborn trap, they still have endboard pieces most of the time, like a Bow and the Griffin. And I want to have additional outs, especially for this Griffin lock. So I play Dark Ruler. Currently, I'm testing without Dark Ruler. I'm playing Lightning Storm instead, because in theory, Lightning Storm could be used both ways against Malice, because then you can simply decide with the Lightning Storm if you clear the back row and force out things such as this Reborn trap, which could hurt your graveyard very hard with Whitebinder. Or you could, since they're only playing Link monsters, you could clear off the whole board with Lightning Storm. So I'm still testing around with this one. But regarding the ratios, it's either Lightning Storm or Dark Ruler no more. So I play 2 XYZ Encore to have additional out against Dweller because the opponent cannot react to this card. It's just an option to out the card that is hurting our deck, I would say, the most. And I was playing it at 3 originally, but in theory, if you have Joel, you can simply stop the opponent from going into Dweller anyway, because in Ryzel you wouldn't have access to that many extenders.
Did you ever worry about cutting Encore for Droll for Called By, or do you think that since there's only one Called By, the Droll is still relatively safe?
Yes, the Droll is relatively safe, and Droll could also help against random combo decks that are putting out a strong board if they're not interrupted with hand traps such as Mermail. I'm playing 1 Sanctum and 1 Karma Cannon. So the Sanctum is obviously against Malice because they're also right now playing Shifter, and Shifter cuts down all the Ogdoadic lines. And if you are not able to play with the Mitsurugis, you cannot do anything. But if you have Thrust, you can simply set the Sanctum and a special Lancia, and then they cannot play either. So you just simply gain 1 additional turn if they don't have completely crazy hand. And the other one is Karma Cannon as a generic target for every deck that is not Malice, because it's very generic and very powerful at the same time. Also in the testing, for example, when I only had the possibility to end on Dweller, it also helps resolving against cards like Droplet or Impermanence. I would not play Dimensional Barrier over Karma Cannon because Dimensional Barrier would only help against something like Pure Ryzel, because even other versions of the deck like Fiendsmith Ryzel or Mitsurugi Ryzel could still keep on playing. So I definitely wanted to have 1 generic target, and that's why I play Karma Cannon.
Well, I just want to say thank you again so much for coming on, showing me your list, and talking me through all your picks. It's been really nice getting that really deep insight. Congrats again on getting top 3. That's incredible, especially with such a pure list. There's no Fiendsmith or any other really high meta engine. You're just outplaying. You're not even running all that many non-engine. So I'll be linking below the original deck profile on ElMatadorYGO. So please go like that, subscribe to his channel. This has been a huge help. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yes, thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak deeply about this deck list. It was really fun, I think, and hope we could do such a collaboration sometimes somewhere in the future.
For sure. All right. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new, join the Discord, leave a like, subscribe. We stream every weekend. Please go in the description, leave a like on Matador's video, subscribe to his channel. Other than that, I'll see you next time.